Okay, today's video mission, is just a quick proof of concept morale booster, to make it a little more real. So I get to see if everything works okay for my idea of like carrying around like my welding equipment and this generator in this truck here, that maybe at some point I could like stop someplace and someone's in need of something being welded or something, I could do it. Or maybe even like make a business out of it, even idea. It's possible that I could do a little business on the side if I get my one friend involved. He's usually good at, helping with stuff. So I guess I just want to do a quick psychological analysis of welding to make it a little more meaningful for this whole series. Okay, so if you just were here just for welding, you might have been annoyed by this, but this is part of our general theme here, that I'm trying to not just do some of these like hobbies and stuff, but also provide kind of like a psychological framework and see how it relates to my total goals in life and in general. Okay, so welding, what's the draw? Well, of course, it's practical and it's useful, of course. There's so many things that like you could, pieces of metal that you could never attach or anything if you didn't have, some are just too small, you couldn't use screws or something, and then that would be a big pain and everything. And plus, once you get this, you could put together really small pieces of metal or just anything, and once you have it already set up, then it's actually going to be probably quicker than doing like other methods, like trying to use screws or something to attach. But anyway, you could just, it's like you have the power to join. If you think about metal as being one of the elements of the universe, or even though it's a type of material, then that's how it is. You now have mastery over that by having this thing, this device. Just like you could say, like you could have mastery over fabrics by being able to do sewing. Now, both of those are things that like I've used it to make like camping stuff before, like sewing and stuff. So anyway, those are both skills that I could do basic joining, but I'm not saying that I'm not like real good at it, but I could do like your basic, at least I feel like, okay, I can do your basic joining, attach two different things that it would be impossible to attach without those machines. And of course it's fun and useful, but there's also some psychological principles here that'll help me appreciate, and hopefully you, better what's going on. Okay, so one thing is I noticed it was hard to get going, so by just doing this real simple task of showing that I can weld from my truck with the generator, then then I get over that. Because I'll admit that even like, it's something like welding, it's like, okay, yeah, it's something that's going to be fun, interesting to do, but then it's still a little scary if you haven't done it for a while. It's, just think you're going to hurt yourself, or I don't know, it's just there's certain things that are just, like I might feel that going out in my sailboat, that there's a little bit of fear sometimes that I have to kind of like overcome too, but it's like, and especially that first time, yeah, because there's a lot of things where I just have a certain anxiety and fear about different things in the world, but if it's something I find like interesting enough to do, sometimes I got to force myself to do it, a little bit, and then, but once you get going, then things tend to flow. Anyway, and so, all right, so, but this, as far as our 4-part thing, we'll say abstract or split for this, or I added in flash would probably be the best keyword. We're going to say flash, and just, okay, then this one is home, mother, flow. That's not so useful for this, what we're talking about today. And then archetype, and what I'm going to say is specifically like the father archetype, father. So just think about it as like, like the sword, so, that's not a great sword. It's like a Christmas tree, but anyway, yeah. So something like a flash, like lightning, like in the natural, where that tree, where the lightning, like it breaks open the tree, and that was like supposed to be like from his dead father, and then sort of like also that crystal that he found in Star Trek. Not Star Trek, that he found in Superman, in the 1978 Superman. That crystal that he ends up, that leads him to the North Pole, to where he can use it to make the Fortress of Solitude. So anyway, all right, so it's creation. I don't know, okay, so the idea of creating, of course, creating stuff, but then specifically I was kind of thinking about how when you have something in your hand, like a sword and something that flashes or something, it's sort of like that spark of creation, like that lightning bolt, that feeling of like, that creation, kind of like you're talking about that little bit of consciousness that goes into like the unconsciousness to kind of like, create things to move and stuff. Yeah, so the first thing I gotta do is see if I can even get the generator started before doing anything else, before putting on all my protective equipment and stuff. So I guess that'll be the first thing, just to start the generator up. And there's no, the battery is dead now. It looks like it's pretty hard to change the battery, but last time I was able to start it okay with using the pull start. So, yes, this is going to be an experiment to see, like, hopefully that this thing does an okay job powering this thing and everything. And if there's no problem, like, I haven't ran this thing since last year, so there's no other problem with the device or anything. So anyway, all right, let's give it a try. First, we're going to, start up the generator. Okay, so the generator started nice and easy with this pull thing. Even though I kind of got in there because I didn't want to have to unstrap it. See, if I wanted to really get like a real power pull, I'd have to kind of roll the thing out, but I was able to get it started, which is kind of like a half A, not even all that strong of a pull, so that's good. Okay, so now we just got the air's blowing out here, so it seems like we should be fine as far as like exhaust and everything, as far as not causing any trouble in the thing. Anyway, so yeah, maybe let that warm up for a few minutes, and then we'll just look into getting like the welding stuff set up. Okay, this is what I'm going to weld today. Some piece of conduit. I don't know what I was doing with it in the past. I was building something with it. But anyway, I kind of pounded, so I'm just going to see if I can kind of put a bead down and just harden. I don't know, it's just a proof of concept, but it's just, actually, okay, I'll see, maybe I'll clamp that in there a little better. The idea is you got to get it like, well anyway, yeah, okay, maybe I'll clamp that on a little better, make sure it's nice and flat, because if you get it nice and flat on there, you know, the piece of metal. But anyway, this is the conduit. I think this should work okay with the flux core stuff I'm using, the size. I mean, I'd have to look up all that about the precise thing, but I mean, but this is just a real quick test of concept, so I didn't really, you know, have the time to look up exactly what type of size I would need, and I probably wouldn't have had it with me. So anyway, but I think this is much thicker than like that sheet metal I was welding, so it should be easier than that. So okay, so this is a Arc Captain MiG 200. Okay, there's the flux core 0.05 I have in there. Okay, so here's like the different sizes and everything, but I'd have to be able to measure it all. But basically, but the main thing I'm looking right now is just, this is the main thing to make sure of. No gas. So if I had a big tank, and that would be MIG welding, I would need to have it hooked up this way. But if there's no gas, which is a flux core, I gotta just make sure that my clamp is attached to positive and my gun is attached to negative. Okay, there you go, because that's where the clamp's going to go in a minute for the positive, like I said. And this is just, so you put it over here, so it's on negative, and then you would just take this out, and well, I might as well, that's okay. Anyway, it comes out pretty easy. Anyway, so now I'm just going to have to attach my clamp to it and everything. Okay, here's what the clamp looks like. Anyway, I mean, this wasn't really exactly supposed to be like a real welding thing. It's more of like, so if you randomly came on here about this MIG welder, we're talking about some weird psychology. Sorry guys, I'm trying to mix together different things like interests, like some of them might be if you're not into that kind of video. Anyway, so alright, so I got the clamp here, the ground clamp. Okay. Oh, I don't know if that filmed or not. Okay, so this stuff, okay, it's not supposed to be that far out. I had it filmed just a second. So the idea is I'm going to clip that shorter, but whenever you do that, this stuff gets fed out. And then it only becomes live when you press the button, okay? And then if you're touching something that's grounded, then it welds, okay? So which is something that attached to that clamp. So anyway, that's the basic idea here. So I think I'll do a little bit like off camera, just to like so I don't make any mistakes the first time using it, like for a while, before I do like the main weld and everything, you know. So, and then I'll film like if everything looks good, then I'll then film it, you know, film me like doing an actual procedure a little bit. Oh, another thing I should have noticed is, okay, I haven't totally learned about using these numbers correctly, like selecting the right wire speed and voltage, so I don't know. So I'll just have to try it and see, hopefully that works. I was asking the AI and it couldn't give me any information because it gets a number like 9.3 and you don't know what is that in inches per minute? I mean, anyway, and I don't have the other, anyway, let's just see if this works. Okay, it seems like it works okay. I guess I'm going to try to weld this. Let's see if I can find this. Okay, good enough. Okay, I know that's not too pretty, but it'll probably hold. Anyway, we'll take a look at it in a second here. Let it cool down for a second. Actually, I'll go ahead and shut the Well, maybe I'll leave the thing going for just a minute, just in case. The generator. I know you probably can't see much in the, you know, you need like a really special camera, I think they say, to, if you want to actually, if you want to film welding. Looks pretty good now. One thing is this flux core, you get like this white stuff on the outside that's like this powdery stuff. That's the stuff that keeps it from reacting with the air. Well, basically, like if you have like the MIG welding, then it's just the air coming out stops it from burning by displacing the oxygen in the area. But this stuff, it leaves like this powder stuff, because there's this powder stuff that's on the inside of the, you know, this flux core. And then anyway, so it leaves this kind of residue, but it looks like it probably, anyway, usually just as long as you don't like totally melt the thing off, usually if you can get some metal in there, and most things, that's, you know, going to be a pretty decent weld. Probably not up to like a really good standards, not really high level people, but you know. I know you probably can't see much in the, you know, you need like a really special camera, I think they say, to, if you want to actually, if you want to film welding. Looks pretty good now. One thing is this flux core, you get like this white stuff on the outside that's like this powdery stuff. That's the stuff that keeps it from reacting with the air. Well, basically, like if you have like the MIG welding, then it's just the air coming out stops it from burning by displacing the oxygen in the area. But this stuff, it leaves like this powder stuff, because there's this powder stuff that's on the inside of the, you know, this flux core. And then anyway, so it leaves this kind of residue, but it looks like it probably, anyway, usually just as long as you don't like totally melt the thing off, usually if you can get some metal in there, and most things, that's, you know, going to be a pretty decent weld. Probably not up to like a really good standards, not really high level people, but you know. That's a lot of metal in there. Is it cool? It's okay. It's cold enough to touch now. Okay, yeah, it's just really big glob of metal there. But yeah, but if you want to make this really strong, like I said, there's a lot of, you could put beads on like the other side and stuff like that. And plus if I wanted to really make this good, I needed, like, if I had like a mallet would be the thing to be like pound this down flat, maybe even kind of bend it over if you can. You know, if you can get it to be something like where it's always already kind of held strongly even before you weld it, then that's even better, you know. So anyway, this 30-day YouTube mini-series is a psychological experiment using Jungian psychology to live better and experience more this summer. I'm not a psychologist, just a layman looking to apply Jungian principles to life. I'm starting with the idea that the unconscious mind is very smart and tells us things. And believing in this, I drove up to Hibbing, Minnesota, and I found that 4 locations in Hibbing, Minnesota corresponded quite well to 4 different principles called the Hibbing Quaternity. The first one is the Hibbing Ghost Town, which the characteristics is you feel the echo of the past as the wind flows down established paths. This represents unconscious voice being in the center of a moving circle, the mother archetype, home, center, castle, etc. Character I'm coming up with here to explain it is Nellie, the ghost sheepdog mom who circles the area, protects and guides. The Greyhound Museum has to do with travel and also the Jungian idea of beauty as a way of mentally feeling your way into physical objects and flowing into life in general, flowing beauty, mentally becoming part of the object. The character here I'm coming up with is Flows With It, which is a Native American cartoon character who has a magic canoe, finds all paths, glides over, portages, flows into life. Now the ore pit, it represents awe, the smallness of the individual, abstraction, and the way to, in making the world simpler, more understandable. Actions, the beauty of symmetry, the beauty of maps, beauty of mathematics. And this is supposed to be Laser Nash. Doesn't look like him that much, but anyway, it's like John Nash with his cup sending out all these laser beams across, dividing the world, trying to find that order in the chaos from A Beautiful Mind, if you haven't seen that movie. Bob Dylan's home, it represents stories, archetypes, wishing to become someone else. DJ Hat Trick, what he does is he gets people into the groove by putting different hats on and sending people into different paths. It's sort of like the way we do whenever we listen to a song, for example. Here's a simplified view of the Quaternity here that I'm going to be using for this 30-day adventure. And this is what it's going to more look like. I'm just going to do a simple sketch that I'll put in the video and then just kind of explain it like on a notepad like this to make it simpler so I can get it done. So I can do a video for 30 days. And so subscribe to get all 30 of those videos.